A young boy once asked his father a very important question. So the father didn't give him a direct answer. He rather asked him to come so that they will have a walk. As they were walking, he was asking the boy some questions. And after asking the boy some questions, he told the boy a story. His son, of course. He told him a story. And after telling him the story, they ended the walk. He did not tell him, do this or do not do this. He just told him a story. And the boy was left to decide what to do or what not to do. And today, I just want to take you people on a walk, on a mental walk. We want to travel through this topic, Ibute, the quest for fast money and youths. What you gave me as a topic, youth's exorbitant lifestyle, right? But I removed exorbitant and put extravagant or wasteful lifestyle, because if you can afford exorbitance, it is not a crime. There are people who comfortably can avoid exorbitance. Somebody can buy Bentley, somebody can buy G-Wagon if he has the money and he worked for it legitimately. It is not a crime. So, but extravagance and wastefulness is not good. Because extravagance is, you are doing things that are not necessary. You are spending things that are not necessary. You need 2 cars and you will buy 10. It is not necessary. That's extravagance and wastefulness. Now, I would want us to begin this way. First of all, I want to appreciate the leadership of the Nimo Youth Forum for the wonderful and beautiful job they have been doing in Nimo towards social transformation. You have really done so much, and what you are doing now, you don't know how far it's going to go. It's already gathering momentum. It's gathering a forcefulness that will definitely bring social transformation in this generation and in the next. You started last year with WADA, War Against Drug Abuse. I was admiring that campaign from a distance, and I am happy today to be here to share with you on this topic. I consider myself suitable for this topic that you've given me, because as a priest, I am an elder. In Greek, a priest is priesthood is referred to with a word, presbyteros, that is an elder. But I'm also a youth. I am still very young, and all your challenges are also my challenges. We're going to do 3 things and we'll be done. Number 1 is, I'm going to present the problem, identify the problem that we are having in the society by making an overview, a historical travel through our pre-colonial society, the colonial society, and what we have today. I hope you are comfortable with my using English all through. Okay. Then we're going to detect how corruption and extravagant lifestyle found their way into our land, and then I'll give you my recommendations. The traditional Igbo society. The pre-colonial Igbo society was not a heaven, but it enjoyed peace and tranquility. Apart from occasional situations of intertribal wars and invasions, peace and calmness it enjoyed came from the fact that it upheld justice and equity. It was not a society that propagated equality as it is harped today, but equity was ensured. What I mean is, today it is being harped everywhere. Everybody is singing it: equality, equality, equality. Women are saying we want equal right with men. Children are saying we want equal right with every other person. Do you understand? Even animals. People are craving for equality for animals and all that. It was not the same in the pre-colonial Igbo society. Pre-colonial Igbo society ensured equity. Aka niile arara era. Mana ebe ọbụna onye nọ, the person is recognized. Ebe ọbụna onye nọ, the person has a voice. I'll give you an example. Mgbe ochie n'ala Igbo, enwere ndị bụ ndị ọzọ, nwee ndị bụ ndị echichi dịgasị iche iche, nwee the elders, nwee young people, nwee the women, nwee the religious people, that is the chief priests, and everybody has a place in the society. And onwere onye chọrọ ka ọ hapụ ebe ọ nọ jewe ebe ọzọ, because na ebe ọ na-adị emegbu. So that is what I mean by equity. But today, what we often hear about is equality. The Igbo society ensured equity. Everyone was recognized. Three things held the peace and justice, and if you like, equity of the pre-colonial Igbo society. Ifenata, biye melo, ani Igbo, galaga, jimwe, peace and equity. Three things. Number one, respect for the gods and the ancestors. Respect for the gods and the ancestors. Obona Igugo, Things Fall Apart. In chapter 4 of that Things Fall Apart, a story was told about Okonkwo beating his wife, Ojugo, mercilessly. And unfortunately, that week was a week of peace. On a week of peace, you are not supposed to beat somebody. You are not even supposed to say anything bad to someone. Talk of beating the person. Okonkwo beat his wife to the point that the neighbors and everybody came out begging him to leave the wife. Of course, Okonkwo was known to be a very hot-tempered person and high-handed. So he didn't stop. Before it was nightfall, the chief priest of Ani, called Ezani, stormed Okonkwo's house. Okonkwo brought out kola nut, or watali orji. He rejected it. Take away your kola nut. I shall not eat in the house of a man who has no respect for our gods and our ancestors. So what held the peace of the pre-colonial Igbo society was respect for the gods and for the ancestors. And Okonkwo was fined. Ezani said, "You are not a stranger in Umuofia. You know as well that our forefathers ordained this week of peace, so that we use that week and observe some kind of tranquility, some kind of peacefulness, so that the earth goddess will reward our harvest." So Okonkwo was asked to bring some things to the shrine. He was asked to bring a she-goat, to bring one hen, one length of cloth, and 100 cowries. So you see, it held the peace of the pre-colonial Igbo society. Now, I want you in your mind to create a parallel. What is holding the peace of the society now? Nothing. People are no longer afraid of God or anything. But in that society, people fear the gods. In whichever form that fear was generated, it was real and it held the society together. Then secondly, the second thing that held the peace of that society was respect for the elders. The Council of Elders were the highest government in the pre-colonial Igbo society. Although like that, nobody has the right to do otherwise, and it held that society in justice and peace. Then the third thing that held the peace of the pre-colonial Igbo society was respect for values. And we found our own so. As in here, no so. Ni menka, imani mejogani. Ni menka, imani memma. So everybody in a tonite, you are groomed in the values of a society. You are groomed in these values. So, because of that, the pre-colonial Igbo society became a society that enjoyed some kind of peace and tranquility. Now, I want to draw some analysis for us because it will help us to fix what is happening today. Many people are advocating that we go back to Igbo traditional religion. That is the religion of our fathers. I think you hear it all. So I want to give you a clear and better story or narrative of what the Igbos practiced as their religion. Not what we are seeing today. Religiously, the Igbos communed with the gods or with God, with the Almighty God, through what is called natural theophanies. Natural theophanies. Natural theophany is something that commands some sense of amazement when you encounter it. It commands some kind of awe, sense of amazement. As in here a natural theophany, because now whatever made this thing to be must be great. For example, when you see a high mountain, you imagine who created this mountain. So it is an imprint of God's person in the world. Do you understand? When you see a large ocean, these things are imprints of God's presence in nature. When you see a very tall tree, very large tree like Iroko, like apple tree, it is an imprint, because if God could make this tree this large, then God is great. So they are called natural theophanies. And these were the things that our forefathers were worshipping God through them. Secondly, every Igbo man had a little wooden object, a little wooden object called Ikenga. As in Ikenga adihire, awaya anko. That Ikenga represents the strength of a man. Every woman had it. In an etonite, gafeta through the rite of passage. Now you guard that your Ikenga. You guard it preciously, because eventually when you form a household, you will keep it somewhere at a strategic point and pour libations to it. Another thing, every woman had a little object also that represented his personal God, his chief. Now, you will remember, now, your grandfather, Ibata no Obie, it is just there, that's practically what is done there. Or anything or so the Ikenga will be there. What represents his personal chief will be there. Some also we make a statue of probably his ancestors or something. But these were symbols of what they believed. Okay? Now, there were two kinds of dibyas that existed in the olden days. One, the herbalists, and two, the witch doctors. While the herbalists were socially useful, because now dibia obuna nwere ife ọ na-agwọ. Every dibia obuno afọ ka ọ na-agwọ, ọ bụrụ na anya ka ọ na-agwọ, ọ bụrụ na ọkpụkpụ ka ọ na-agba. Amaara ya for that. They were socially useful. Even n'Imo a, I still remember Acha, the woman na-agba ụkwụ. Ọnwụ na onwe ka isi gbaji ụkwụ ebute gị na nke aja, and so on and so forth. Then there were the witch doctor. The witch doctor bụ dibịa na-agwọ ọgwụ. Dibịa na-agwọ ọgwụ. These people were not accepted socially as good people. They were dreaded. People na-atụkwa egwu. Asị gị na onye a na-agwọkwa ọgwụ, na ọ na-enyekwa nsị, na ọ na-egbukwa mmadụ. So you discover that the Igbo society accepts herbalists, but they rejected witch doctors. So charms and amulets were not socially acceptable in the traditional Igbo society. Igbo ọgwụ abụrụ Igbo tradition. Igbo ọgwụ abụrụ Igbo tradition. I can defend it anywhere. Little wonder, Igbo proverbs dwell say, na ife amụrụ amụ ka ihe agwara agwọ. Igbo proverb, skill is greater than magic. Obelebu mgbe onwe abụghị ajọ ọgwụ. Because now anything a man does to defend himself is not bad. Only some things that has natural power that people apply, crude oil, akinu, these are things that has dilutants with natural power. If you hold it, or if you chop it, or if you eat it or anything, it's not bad. But for you to go and make a concoction to conjure something with which to harm another person, or to command unnecessary and unnatural power, that's bad. So that means that charm is bad. Charm is bad. Even the Igbo society understands it as such. Now, today, ihe anyị na-akụzi na young people na-etonite si na ha chọrọ ịnachi ya back to traditional or Igbo traditional religion bụ ịgwọ ọgwụ na ife arụsị. Arụsị also was not Igbo culture. Does this one shock you? Huh? Okay, all this while you have been thinking if Alusi is Igbo culture. Huh? No, it is not. If Alusi is nobody's culture, if Alusi is an accident in every culture, you know what an accident is? Okay, my accident. Accident in a teacher enjoy. Pụta na Iru First Bank machine gị daa na. Do you understand? Ịrapụzi oyi na-eje enwere ike endizi up na nke Johnny. That is how Ife Alụsị came into every society. Enwere society nọ n'ụwa, enwere obodo nọ n'ụwa anụwa na-enweghị history of idolatry. Do you understand now? Ogum na-emewe nna anụ anọkọta si na na-eme Halloween. You hear about it. Ndị mmadụ ebuchiche anya ha jee na ebe etinyechara halogen bulb na-agba egwu. That thing bụ mmemme arụsị ndị Ireland. Mmemme arụsị ndị Ireland. So idolatry is an accident in every culture. But consciousness may grow. People are not around for idolatry. Every idol, it was brought for a reason. Oh, if Alusi was not there when Nemo began. It was something that happened. The mad were back Wesley. Can you get Alusi there? Komela anyị ihe a na ife anyị na-emeli na ife anyị na-enye. Do you understand? But practically, it was not the culture. It was not a culture. On the no corner na or then wanted antibiotics. In antibiotics is the you forget about it. So, for example, a practical one. You hear about Imoka. Here you Ibute Imoka because na ana abia nto ndi ada ma ndi ohofia na abia nto n'Oka. How we did to ward off their enemies. Ulu kanda ada na abia zioka enwe magari wa n'ofia mebe mkpotu gbaru farm. How we did na funa their enemies are coming. Ajegbuo nukuto onunu ambush the enemies gbuo ha unye ha n'ime onunu a. And ndị Ọka wee nwee consensus na ha amerizi enwe because no nyere aka. So ihe ji wee bute ime ọka unu enwe ndị ha chọrọ ka ime ọka word off ka ọnụ soro for. Do you understand? So if na arụsị in itself abụghị ezigbo ihe because na arụsị nwere a potency to harm, and the people no nwere the potency to harm. Kpatara na achụba mmadụ ọsọ gbaba na arụsị asọwazi ya asọwa si n'ọwa osu. Ọnwụ na arụsị wee ezigbo ihe, it will not be like that. And arụsị ọbụla nwere onye na-enye nri nwee ife eji elekwe ya. And ime imetere omegini ogbuo onye nwee gbuo the way they believed it. So if we want to go back to Igbo traditional religion, if arụsị abro our religion, every Igbo man worshipped God through the ancestors, through the natural theophanies, like I said before. That was the Igbo ATR properly spelled out. And then finally on that, you have to understand and be able to differentiate between Igbo, Ifa and Igbo traditional religion. It should be clear in your head. The Ifa is not Igbo traditional religion, and the Igbo no occultism is not Igbo traditional religion. Is it clear to you now? Okay. Then, economically, the Igbos were agrarian. They were into agriculture, fishing, and all that. But there is something that existed in that society that is no longer in our society now. That society was communitarian. It was communitarian. They practiced communalism. How? Mgbe mmadụ kọchaa ji wee ji igwu ji onye egwucha ji niile n'ubi ya, ọ ga-ahapụ some for the orphans, ndị na-enwero nne na-enwero nna, young people ka chọrọ ibido kọwa ji ọfụ, and maybe poor people. A na-akpọ ya ije mkpaji. So people go around the farm speaking yams. Ha ga-eji either lie or welia ma ọ na ha akọ nwụrụ. So there is always that thinking for your neighbor in that society. In that society, the pre-colonial Igbo society, ị na-aga n'ụzọ fụ ube jiri eji ghọrọ ya alacha ọ bụrụ ohi, ma na ị na-aga n'ubi ọka ghọrọ ọka taa ọ bụrụ ohi, ma na ị na-aga n'ụzọ kpara vegetable ihe eri ọ bụrụ ohi. It becomes stealing, becomes theft ma ọ wụ jiri akpa wee jee. We still met a little of that part of Igbo society. Mgbe ya bụ ị na-aga n'ozi inwe ike ghọrọ ube lacha nwere, mana kịta ịghọrọ ube mmadụ ọka eke ya bụ ụpụta n'ọhịa si na izugo ohi. So that society enweghị reason to steal. Enweghị reason to steal. You can survive. Enwere ike ipi ya api eri inwe ego dị ọnwụ onye ya enye gị. But it is no longer in this society. Now, apart from marginalization of women, human sacrifice, and few other erroneous practices, we can say that the pre-colonial Igbo society was a peaceful society where people maintained peace using three principles: respect for the gods, respect for elders, and respect for values. In that society, Uche was of essence. Uche was of the essence. Uche. I want you to mark these words. Uche. Skills were also learned because of need. In that society, there were carvers, there were palm wine tappers, there were basket makers, there were blacksmiths, and so on and so forth. Uchu was also part and parcel of the then world. Now, let us see the hammer that broke the center. Colonialism. That was colonialism being corrupt to the innocence of that society. It was colonialism that corrupted the innocence of that society, and it is no longer the same again. Colonial masters exposed the pre-colonial Igbo society to corrupt capitalist economy and destroyed the values that form the pillars of that beautiful culture. I want you to mark this. In a church, Igbo, always remember this. Na ndị ọcha bịacha ba anyị ihe abụọzi ihe adị otu ọ dị. Ndị be anyị dị bụ communal, mana ndị ọcha bụ capitalists. Capitalists bụ onye ọbụla na-achọ ihe bụ nke ya. Onye ọbụla na-achọ ihe bụ nke ya. And that capitalist economy will weta institution, ihe akpọrọ institution against community. Before, in Igbo land, enwere onye wee eze, enwe nsogbu akpọ ndị okenye anọla na kpaa ya decide ya ife ya eme. Mana kịta onwe ihe eme kịta eje chọwa PG, chọwa governor. These are institutions, and the institution is aligned with oppression, whereas community or communality is aligned with getting people's voices to be heard. Do you understand it? So it was a major change, setback in the way the society of Igbo people would have emerged. Now, how did these colonial masters, how did they corrupt the innocence of the Igbo society? Number one, the introduction of a sense of government which proved to be superior to religion and culture. That was first. Introduction of a sense of government. Before, ime ihe na ani Igbo, ife ayi ekwu bụ na imejogo the gods of the land, mọwasi na inupugo isi n'ihe the elders ikwu. Okay? Just like etu eze anyị si wee bịa bụ Ọkọnkwọ, gwe ya na imejogo the goddess of anyị na ife ihe eweta na ife ihe eweta. Do you understand? Mana oge ndị ọcha weta gọọmenti, mmadụ nwere ike mee ihe mejọrọ anyị na free ma ọ na onwe the backing of the government. Obodo kwuo ihe, onye ahụ esi Abuja were order maybe ihe sọrọ. Do you see how it corrupted the innocence of our society? And it is still happening till today. Na mmadụ nwere ike kịta anụnwa bịa na n'ime anụnwa gaa against ife n'ime okwu because na onwe mmadụ na federal, and o nwere ihe ga-eme. It has continued to happen. So obodo kwuo ihe nwezo ya na-ege ntị. So that was how that first thing, respect for the gods, was destroyed by colonial masters and colonialism. So for the first time, people started seeing that some of these religious objects and sacred places were not as potent as people regarded them. Now, enwere ike isi na onye anụwa mere ihe n'ụbọchị eji achụnyere ọya aja. Ị na-eche ka ọ nwụọ gara ahụ. ndị ọcha abịa ebe a buru arụsị ahụ eburu jewarụ. Ọkwa ndị polisi jere na arụsị Ọkịja jee burie. So people started seeing, oh, so this arụsị is not even as potent as people were thinking. So he destroyed it. With that, the concept of Egwuchukwu was fast gone. Egwuchukwu. And I told him the second one, Uchu, hard work was slaved, was destroyed. How? What colonialism brought, how it destroyed the previous society we enjoyed. Uchu. Industry and hard work was abused with the introduction of civil service. This thing I'm telling you are historical. Olo Igbo mebiru amamumbo. Does it make sense to you? Olo Igbo mebi amamumbo. How? There was never a time eji sincerity wee lụọ ọrụ oyibo, maka na ọrụ oyibo bụ ọrụ a na-alụrụ nwa onye ọcha. Do you understand? So onye ọbụla na-alụ ọrụ oyibo na-alụ ya ka ọ nwere ihe oge egenu from nwa onye ọcha. Ọ naghị alụ ya ka obodo dị mma ma ọ bụ ka ihe gaa n'iru. Do you understand that? So the warrant chiefs asị ngwa nekọtawa in this place, this district anya, onye ọcha si anya na-ata 10 naira na-ata 20. Onye ọcha 10, otite 10. Ebunye ifo ya eke, oke ọnụ sọrọ ya, rapụ ndị ọzọ. So you see why the government institutions crumbled immediately after the white man left. Because the sense eji wee bido ọrụ oyibo wee na-arịa till today has never been a sincere one. Now, people who were working in civil service, working for the white people, had more money than people who were in the villages, cultivating, planting, harvesting, and doing all sorts of things. Onye ahụ jelụchara ndị ọcha ọrụ, ọ nata, o were ego gokọrọ ihe niile unu kọrọ n'ubi. So every Igbo man started saving up money from farm work to train their children to school. Do you now see why the plan, the work plan of every Nigerian, let me enlarge it even more. Every Nigerian youth, your life plan about Kanga school with all. That is your life plan. You don't think outside it. Everybody is Kamba school, Ngota school, Kamwetoro. That is the life plan. Because by all Igbo, creativity was completely killed in the Igbo society, and even in the Nigerian and African society, as the case may be. So the only target now was to make money. Una forget the sense of inwete ego, Ibute ego si wee bata. Onye na-alụ ọrụ oyibo na-anọ ọrụ n'oge, but he has more money. Iji onye nkuzi na school, olu ebe ahụ dere ụmụ akwụkwọ na bọọdụ jewara onwe ya aja. The only people who worked with sincerity were the catechists, who also measured as teachers. Because ndị ọcha missionaries, ndị ọcha bụ ndị fada na ndị sista bụ ndị train ụba in the sincerity of the work. Ọkụ na anụ aka Vincent Igboka. Very perfect and sincere people. Ndị ụmụaka niile ha zụ perfect in moral and everything. But all government managed institutions, forget it. Everything crumbled. And it is still happening till today. Everybody is looking for a boy and ego, whether sincere or not. So at this point, creativity was abandoned for money making. And the civil service job, of course. Parents save ego on ever ike, come faja akwụkwọ soro ugbo kpataba ego. It killed the creativity and productivity of our people and enthroned corruption. That was how corruption set its ugly foot into our society. So from ndị na-achị ọchịchị, they are civil servants, of course. Women, na ndị na-achị ọchịchị, leaders are civil servants. I want to hear this sincere. It has been that way. Because na ndị ọcha kụzirikwa ka esi achị ọchịchị, we are also not sincere. Now, there were three things that set themselves out in our society because of this development. Number one, oke ọchịchọ na oke mmefu. That is materialism and consumerism. Number two, ịzọ ọkịka na ike ọchịchị. That is competition for prominence and power. Number three, igosi nkali na mmegbu. That is exercise of crude inequality and oppression. Because everybody na-achọ ka o nweta ego, ka o gosi ndị ọzọ na ya akarị kama. Remember, in the previous society, everybody had a voice. But now, onye afụgo na nwa onye anụma ejego lụọ ndị ọcha ọlụ, bute ego nata ihe ọbụla ọ chọzi ome, o nwere backing from the government, ihe ọbụla sọrọ ome. So, enwere that hunger ka nwa m dịkwuo kpatakwu ego ka o sorukwuo n'ọnụ na-ekwu. Enwere that hunger ka ngosi ndị ọzọ na akarịzikwa m unu. With these three things, the communal idea of brotherhood in the society was destroyed. Three vices erupted. Anyukwu, that is greed, jealousy, ntajianya, and anyofo, which is envy. So, ọbụ na nwa gị ma ọ bụ na gị nwa n'onwe gị esobeghị n'ọnụ na-ekwunu na ibutebeghị ego, ị na-atajiri ndị butego n'anya. Ndị butego olu ewere anya ukwu na-achọ ka ha nweta mmụọ, ka ha wee bụrụ ọrụ ha ka a na-eze na ha na-ekwu. Dị na ọkwa ahụ olutebeghị gị, and onweghị ịmụ ị ga-emenwu about it. Ofu obi a na-afụ gị, ọ bụrụ ya wa anya ụfụ. So these were the reasons why our society degenerated to this level. So oke ọchịchọ, which is materialism, gave rise to anyaukwu, which is a cardinal vice. One quickly observes that most leaders and peoples of Igbo extraction and black nations exhibit this principal vice due to love of material things. In the same terrain, those who have risen in prominence and gathered wealth and power will start to exercise them in such a way that the poor and underprivileged people will begin to be envious of them. Onye nwete ego na-elie n'ụdị na ndị mmadụ nọ n'akụkụ ya obi ya na-afụ ụfụ, obi ya na-agbawa ya. Now, how did we get into this stage of money ritual and things like that? After the Biafran war, things were hard. Things were very hard. Because now, these things, this ambitiousness, anazo okika, anazo nkali, anazo, okochicho, adigo in the spirit of the people. A lot of people entered into occultic practices in order to make money in the 70s and the 80s. So, money ritual reigned in the 70s and the 80s after the Civil War, coupled with armed robbery. These things reigned. It has resurrected in a deadlier way in our time, and today people do it with impunity. 419ers in the 80s came back with truckloads of cash. They received various titles with no consequence. They formed mentors for young ambitious minds in the society back then. But what they were suffering was a mixed match of some historical decay in their minds. But eventually, they paid with their generations. They paid with their families. So many people, their families are nothing to write home about now. I know some people who make 419 now. I do Bendelva. Make 419 in the 80s. Buteche go make a China and it just ended very shamefully. So what we are suffering today is a mixed match of historical decay, of hardship created by bad or oppressive governments who are trapped in the historical deformities of the colonial government. We are also suffering from a loss of sense of value caused largely by introduction of social media, globalization, and frustration. I'll just comment on these 3 items and we'll move to the next thing. Introduction of social media pushed a lot of information into the minds of young people. Some, they are not mature enough to receive and they could not handle it. And it's still happening to us. A lot of information is flying out there. Information is managed. People were informed according to their age. Onya mena ahati ụfọdụ female then plus 18 plus 16, because there are information that are meant for onye do lugo 18 years, onye do 16. But today, from 1 year to 60 years, handle phone are exposed to the internet. So a lot of information, and when there's confusion, that is the ill, the bad thing that social media has done to the minds of the youth. Globalization, which also was aided by the internet, is that you can know what is happening in America from here. You can know what is happening in India from here. So when you are advising somebody against something, he will give you an example of somebody in America who is doing it, forgetting that the American environment and this environment is not the same and can never be the same. So that's global. And then frustration. There is much frustration because of hardship. So the sense of community has been replaced by the sense of institution, which is marked largely by oppression. Now, Ibute. Ibute is, to me, a consciousness more than just making money. Okay, let me ask you, what comes to your mind? To make money, right? To make money. But Ibute is more than Ibute ego. It is more than that. It is a consciousness. Okay, consciousness. Consciousness is ife onye ọbụla na-eche, whether consciously or unconsciously, man onye ọbụla na-eche maka ya. Everybody from young to old is thinking about Ibute. It is a consciousness. And Ibute is not just to make money. Because it is a consciousness, it also extends to getting powers, whether spiritual, political, financially, physical. So it is all rounded. Now, a typical young man in our generation, onye ọbụla chọrọ ka onwe mmadụ na gọọmenti, ka ihe ọ na-achọ political power. Every young person kita chọrọ ka onwe something spiritual ya na-echekwa, no matter how little. And that's why they go to make jams, get rings, and things like that. Power. See, consciousness. Hunger for power. Every young person talk all the financially stable, whether you're on every young person try the physically fit and they gym. So there is that hunger, that consciousness for power. It is there. So it is more than Ibute. It is more than that. I want you to begin to see it from a larger perspective of hunger for power. Power. Now, what you go home today with is this. Do not hunger for power. Hunger for authority. Do not hunger for power. Hunger for authority. Powers do not last. Power is a limitation. I don't know what you are doing or that. Go home with this. It will help you. It will take you a long way. If you understand this principle that power is limitation. For example, Aloha battery, kita, and when girls 75 amps, and we're 100 amps, and we're 200 amps, and we're 220. Okay, many now gauges of power. On a 75 amp now, or 100, but 75 amp will give way. But then there is what is called authority. Power is a capacity. Power is a capacity to do something. That is power. Authority is the power. So authority has power in itself. It has freedom in itself. And it is sustainable. That is what makes authority. Because authority is given by the person who has all the powers in an area. You understand? If you go to Psalm 24, the Bible says that God is the maker of the world and everything in it. And that is the authority of God over the world. So, in everything you are doing, search for authority in it. Ndị na-agụ akwụkwọ, ọ na-abụ mmadụ mesịa research, asị na onye abụrụgo an authority in this area, okay? Ije na main market kịta wee chọọ ịmụ akwa, enwere onye wụ authority n'ịzụ ahịa akwa. Ije na nke ọkọwara gị ife ya edoghị anya about ịzụ ahịa akwa, and if you apply it, it will work for you. Ọ dị iche na onye dị ike mabata main market tigharịta ego. A little policy change, he will go back to the village. Ọbụna spirituality ka ị na practice, try to be an authority in it, because authority is linked with legitimacy. Every authority is legit because it is given to someone who merits it. Let me break it down, because I'm very, very interested in Ifa. That is the only thing that can transform our society, and not hunger for power. Hunger for power cannot transform the society. Ibute cannot transform the society. Authority will transform it. Now, obokita na na-agụ akwụkwọ in such a way as to become an authority. Ọbụna ị na-arụ ọrụ gị in such a way as to become an authority. Ọbụna ị na-agụ egwu in such a way as to become an authority. Ikwute high life kịta ịkpọ Ọsadebe bụ an authority. Ọwụrụ oke ite ka Ọsadebe butere wee mụta ka esi eti egwu. Oke ite ama akụzighị ka esi akpọ gita. Do you understand? Oke ite ama akụzighị ka esi agụ egwu. So being an authority has to deal with hard work and developing your talent in creativity. I don't know if this thing I said, if it makes any sense. Okay. I am coming to the end gradually. Ritual or scale. Ritual or scale. You know Reno Omokri. Reno said something few days ago, last week or last 2 weeks. He wrote something on his Twitter handle. It says, when you drink alcohol on empty stomach, you get drunk quickly. So when you drink alcohol on an empty stomach, you get drunk. Okay? Then when you get drunk, you will start to misbehave until the alcohol clears from your system. Okay? So when you make money with an empty brain, you get money drunk quickly, and you will start to misbehave until the money leaves you, and poverty returns again. Then Reno Mokri says, that is why you should fill your brain before you fill your wallet. Because when your brain is empty and your wallet is full, you will make noise. But when your brain and your wallet are both full, you will make news. When you got an ear, if time out to get our more beer to go. And until not boiling out, when you are water. But then I got it. But they go without any idea. You may make a sewa. Ega Habukwa is your Juka. No, get a 50 million or give a business already. That is it. Brain, we are not getting a brain now. In our go, you are looking for money. Already a Jimmy Dorime, already a Tunianu na party. There you go, and we give a Niana told, let me get the money. And the only day will be easy. Only guy go easy. Mmadụ gba bet Naija onye na-akwa baro gbata 10 million na main market. The thing is easy. Obido ozugbo mekasiwa ihe. Bido ozugbo mekasiwa ihe. Every day na-afịa na club. Ọchụ nwaanyị nke atọ echi ọchụ ọzọ. Ihe o medewe ụlọ were some part of the money go put a boss now bunye mmadu you got to go kugide ndị ọzọ egogo ọ ka na-akpa baro kịta ahụ because na ọrụ moto ahụrụ nụ echi aka ọrụ akụkọ asịrị na top abụọ nugo asịghị na gia bọs mere ya anyị akụgide ya akụkọ ele moto ịta aka esi kọgidere ya akụkọ ma moto ma everything 10 million naira gbalie on obido kwa baro no idea ifugo ihe batalo na ihe anyị na-eme asị na Yahoo can never transform our society. It can never transform our society. Enwere ihe anyị emegide Yahoo na n'Imo ka anụ akwa afa n'Imo. Enwekwe mmadụ emegide na Yahoo ka ọ bụ the richest man in Anambra State. Although possible. Enwere ihe emegide na Yahoo ka ị bụrụ a mentor to anybody. So this whole idea of can we go is not, people are wasting their lives actually. That is why you see, be an authority. And if you don't perform it in war, we have lost you forever. And then what way exist also. Okay, we are here get now. This thing that you're organizing now, do you understand? And today is gone and gone forever. And all who remain in this generation will hunger for it, but nobody will give it to them. Don't mind the number. This is how changes are made. When Zuckerberg and few other students were developing Facebook, there were not 1 million in the room. When Steve Jobs dropped out of school to develop Apple phone and all these things, the apps, there were not 100 in the room. There were just few. These few people that move a generation. So what I'm trying to say is, the whole idea of money thing is not even what will help our generation. We are just frustrated and hungry. But this is the time to bend down and create something that will move the generation forward. I want to also quote something from St. Paul. St. Paul was advising Timothy. Timothy was his spiritual son and a young person also, very young too. And he said these words to him: "For we brought nothing into this world, just as we shall not be able to take anything out of it. If we have food and clothing, we shall be content with that. Those who want to be rich are falling into temptation and into a trap and into many foolish and harmful desires, which plunge them into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all evils. And some people, in their desire for it, have strayed from the faith and have pierced themselves with many pains." Chiboy, Ipotania Paul, yes, and Paul. In what are the quotation of ma? In what are? Should I repeat it? Okay. Paul said, "For we brought nothing into this world, just as we shall not be able to take anything out of it. If we have food and clothing, we shall be content with that. Those who want to be rich are falling into temptation and into a trap and into many foolish and harmful desires, which plunge them into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all evils. And some people, in their desire for it, have strayed from the faith and have pierced themselves with many pains." You got that? Now, let me ask you people. I'm on Nancy, Kere Chori Mwego. Any of you Chori Mwego? Okay. Now I ask you, after getting money, what next? Can somebody, after making money, what next? Huh? Ede firm. Okay, see no look at what is okay? Then after being firm, what next? Okay, here. Okay, relax. Do you think that people who have money are relaxed? Do you think they have the comfort? Mind don't. I don't visit your big Cubana. No ever for some days. ebuji ụlọ ọgwụ ọ nọ n'ụlọ ọgwụ na-aṅụ drip wee dee n'Instagram ya boy no dey easy o. That man no dey sleep for night. Mgbe anyị na-alalụ ụra Obi Kubana nọ n'ọfịs ya all through the night na-aga through all the business vouchers ya niile na-agbakọ business niile mee for the day. Nwoke ara alalụ ụra. Amami na-aghọta anyị don school no hold it na anọ ihe will break it down.